All right, I'm Aaron Meurett with ESPN 105, Sports Fan 100.5, and Wausau. Gave you a chance to ask me Packer questions on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter, go ahead and you can do that. I'm at Aaron_ESPN 105. Again, that's at Aaron_ESPN 105. You also get a rare chance to take a little look into my house here, into my living room. Normally, you're probably going to see these videos from the radio station, but today, get a nice view of my little red wall behind me here. But again, I took the first three questions that got asked to me on Twitter regarding the Green Bay Packers, so we'll just start out. The first question is from Bucky Book. Says, Finley said the Pack should score every time they get the ball. I agree the offense has that sort of potential. Will we see it this year? Well, what Finley said is classic Jermichael talk. The Packers are never going to be at the point on offense where they're scoring on every single possession. But that's not just Green Bay. No team in the NFL is going to have enough on offense to make that happen. Things happen. Aaron Rodgers throws an interception. One of the backs coughs up the football. Any little thing can happen to mess up a drive. Not to mention that there's a defense on the other side getting paid to stop you as well. But what Finley is getting at, and he's correct in saying that when he says that that they could score on every possession, just in general, you get a sense of what he feels about how good this Packer offense is and how good it can be. And as far as answering the question goes, will we see it? Yeah, I think we will. And actually, we've already seen some of the high-flying power that the Packer offense possesses. Week 1 against the Saints, the Pack put up 42 points on New Orleans. One of the things that makes the Packer offense so tough is that Aaron Rodgers has the ability to spread the football around. In Week 1, he connected with 9 different receivers. Same thing last week as well against the Panthers. And it's not just that Aaron Rodgers has a ton of targets to throw to. He's one of those quarterbacks who does not get locked in on one guy. Sometimes he'll get locked in a little bit on Jermichael Finley, but for the most part, Aaron Rodgers is out there to do one job, and that's to throw the football to the open guy. And he says that time after time in the locker room and during his press conferences. Is just the fact that he's not out there necessarily to throw the ball to one person, but he's got to throw it to one guy. So Aaron Rodgers is very good at spreading the football around, and likewise, he has receivers, multiple receivers, who can get open often enough for him to spread the football around. And defenses simply don't have enough men to compensate for the Packers' depth on offense. For that reason, the Packers should have a lot of success putting the ball into the end zone on any given drive. While the offense has put up pretty good numbers and point totals in the first 2 games, not everything is all fine and dandy. The Carolina game shows that they have some work to do in getting the ball in for 6 points when they're in the red zone. Too many times last week the Packers were not able to get it in. Naturally, things get tougher when you get closer to the other team's end zone, but the Packers going forward are going to have to do a better job of scoring touchdowns when they get inside the other team's 20-yard line, because what they did on Sunday just didn't cut it. And if you're playing any other team, maybe besides Carolina in that situation, you're probably not in the best of shape if you don't take advantages of those times where you are close to the goal line, where you're close to the end zone, and you're not able to punch it in. So the Packers are going to have to improve in that area of their offense, that's for sure. The long scoring plays, the long pass to Jennings, the long pass to Jordy Nelson, they're set in that category. They've been good in that ever since Aaron Rodgers took over for Brett Favre a couple of years ago. But what they really need to work on, what they need to get better at, what they need to get more consistent at is scoring inside the red zone. Our second question comes from Packer Fan Girl. My question is, with Nick Collins out, do you see the Packers, bringing back Darren Sharper? Personally, I don't think it would be a bad move to give Sharper a look. I mean, get as much depth there as you can. With the inexperience of Morgan Burnett especially, and also Charlie Peppra, it's probably going to keep, you're probably going to want to keep in mind that even if the Packers do decide to take a look at Darren, he's probably not going to be a starter, at least not right away. Now, as far as what Ted Thompson will do concerning Sharper, I really wouldn't count on it. Every year, a team, the Green Bay Packers, Mike McCarthy, Ted Thompson, they go into the year with a plan of what they're going to do in certain situations. The Nick Collins injury hurts them big time. There's no question about it. But at the same time, there is a plan in place to replace Collins. It's the same concept as last year, that the next man up mentality that Mike McCarthy brought up a lot when the Packers had all their injuries a season ago. I would be pretty surprised to see Thompson go out and even take a look at Sharper. I think they know what they have on the team right now, and I think they like what they see, to be honest with you. If the Packers had wanted to, during preseason and before the final cuts were made during camp, they could have brought in someone to take Pepra's spot, or at least challenge him a little bit more for that spot, but they didn't. That would have been, I think, the time to look at Darren Sharper. Now, Sharper's out there. I know he's had some workouts for a couple of teams around the NFL this week, but the time, I think, if the Packers really felt that if something happened to either Nick Collins or Morgan Burnett, if they would have felt that they needed something in addition to Charlie Pepra, and maybe in addition to Jarrett Bush, who can also go back there, and even Charles Woodson to some extent, I think if they wanted to add something to that, I think they would have done that before the season started. So the fact that they seem to be okay with that going into the regular season when they made their final cuts, that to me tells me that they like what they have in that situation. Now, this year it is a little bit scarier. Same scenario as last year at this time. A starting safety goes down and the Packers need to replace him. But that was different. Last year was different. You end up with Charlie Pepra last year playing next to a Pro Bowl safety in Nick Collins. This year it's Charlie Pepra playing next to Morgan Burnett, who's still, let's face it, essentially a rookie after missing all the time he did last year. It's going to be a bigger challenge for Pepper this year than it was last year. But again, I think Mike McCarthy and Ted Thompson really like what they have in Pepper. Now, a few bad games could change that, but as of right now, I still stay with the theory that that they're going to sit pretty tight where they are, minus maybe a smaller, more under-the-radar move. That's always something that could creep in as well. The third and final question is this. What is the future looking like for Ryan Grant in the offense? James Starks is clearly the man now taking carries. I think that Ryan Grant's role is an important one for this Packer offense. I think by default, he could end up being the Packers' third down back this year on a pretty consistent basis. They really don't want to take him off the field for Alex Green once Alex Green is active. And to be honest, they shouldn't. Grant is the man who is ready to go right now. There's no comparison in my eyes between James Starks and Ryan Grant running the football. Starks is just flat out better. He cuts up the field the first chance he gets, whereas with Ryan, it seems like sometimes it takes him a little while to get his feet underneath him and to get a running play developed and actually get it moving as to where he wants to go. Yet, getting a chance to watch the film and break things down, the little keys in the game, I do find that Ryan Grant is the better pass blocker between the two at this point, which is actually an improvement for Ryan. And you got to give Ryan Grant a lot of credit for that, because pass protection has always been a struggle for Ryan. Hence why a guy like Brandon Jackson was so important in the last couple of seasons. Someone you could bring in that you could count on to be that pass blocker, because it wasn't Ryan Grant. But this year, Ryan Grant has definitely improved his pass blocking abilities. And as far as picking up blitzes go, week 1 against the Saints, Ryan Grant had a couple of key blocks that sprung a couple of long plays. Actually, the first touchdown pass of the season, the back shoulder fade route from Aaron Rodgers to Greg Jennings, happened because at the last second, Ryan Grant picked up a linebacker coming through the middle and saved Aaron Rodgers on that one, gave him a few extra seconds to throw. So Ryan Grant has done a lot better in pass blocking this year, and he has been better than Starks has been. But again, when you watch Starks run the football, it needs to be in his hands more often than not. So I wouldn't go with a platoon situation necessarily. I think you're still going to see Ryan Grant come in and spell James Starks. And, who knows? I mean, the final nail is not put in the coffin for anything. 1 week Ryan Grant could come out of the gates blazing hot, and Mike McCarthy, of course, in that situation, is going to ride the hot hand. So there could be games yet where Ryan Grant is that Ryan Grant of old, and we see him used more than we see James Starks, and the roles could be flip-flopped in a certain game. But overall, for the most part during the season, I think we're going to just see a steady dose more and more of James Starks. Not to mention, though, one thing very quickly that is important to throw in on that topic is that James Starks is a guy who's been injury prone. So Starks has been injury prone, and Ryan Grant is probably the best backup in the NFL at this point. Thanks to everyone who wrote in your questions. Look forward to doing more videos like this for you guys. Make sure you check out our ESPN105.com podcast tonight. We'll be doing it live at 8:30 Central Time. Follow me on Twitter for the link to watch it live. Again, that's twitter.com at Aaron_ESPN105. We'll have the phone lines open tonight, open to you, and hopefully we'll talk plenty of football, and hope to see you there.